At 4:27 a.m. on March 20th, 2025, over 50 Ukrainian drones converged on Engels 2 Airbase, 500 kilometers inside Russia. In the next 8 minutes, these flying lawnmowers are about to destroy 96 cruise missiles worth more than Russia's entire annual military drone budget. A Ukrainian FPV drone costs $400. This $400 piece of foam and plastic routinely destroys Russian tanks worth $3 to $5 million. That's not a typo. The cost exchange ratio sits somewhere between 1 to 7,500 and 1 to 12,500. But it gets better, or worse, depending on which side you're on. Ukraine's deep strike drones cost between $55,000 and $270,000. Expensive by drone standards, dirt cheap by weapons standards. In October 2024, one of these slammed into the Feodosia fuel depot in Crimea. The resulting inferno caused $39 million in damage. One drone, $270,000 investment, $39 million return. That's 144 to 1. And it's actually on the conservative end. Now let's scale up to Operation Spider's Web. June 1st, 2025. Ukraine executes the most audacious drone strike in history. They didn't fly 117 drones from Ukraine too far, too risky, too detectable. Instead, they smuggled drone components across Russia in trucks driven by unsuspecting contractors, assembled them in warehouses like IKEA furniture from hell, then launched them simultaneously against 5 air bases spanning 4,300 kilometers. Total cost, approximately $117,000. Total damage, $7 billion, according to Ukrainian intelligence. Even accepting the more conservative U.S. assessment of 10 aircraft destroyed, you're looking at irreplaceable Tu-95MS strategic bombers worth $500+ million each. Production lines closed in 1992. These aren't replaceable assets. They're flying museum pieces that Russia needs to launch cruise missiles. The cost exchange ratio was approximately 1 to 60,000. Physics doesn't care about marketing brochures. Economics doesn't care about military traditions. When defense costs 60,000 times more than offense, defense loses. Every single time. Ukraine didn't just go after the sexy targets like bombers. They went after something far more strategic: Russia's ability to produce fuel. Since January 2024, Ukrainian drones have struck 24 different Russian refineries in 61 documented attacks, not border facilities, deep inland refineries processing millions of tons annually. The Kirishi oil refinery near St. Petersburg, 800 kilometers from Ukraine, processes 17.7 million tons per year. That's 355,000 barrels per day, one of Russia's top 3 facilities. Ukrainian drones hit it on October 4th, 2025. The Afipsky oil refinery in Krasnodar Krai got hit 3 times: August 7th, August 28th, and September 26th. This facility supplies diesel fuel and aviation kerosene directly to Russian forces. Here's where the strategic impact compounds. In early 2025, approximately 10% of Russian refining capacity was offline, according to Reuters. But peak disruption in September 2025 affected 38% of capacity, 123 million tons per year across 16 refineries out of Russia's total 327 million ton capacity. The economic consequences cascaded like dominoes. Russian gasoline output dropped 18% in September 2024 alone, creating a 1 million ton shortage in a single month. Russia experienced fuel shortages in over 20 regions. 50% of Crimean gas stations ran completely dry by September 2025. Wholesale fuel prices have increased by 40% since January 2024. Retail prices jumped 11 to 12% annually, the highest increase in 7 years. Moscow was forced to extend fuel export bans through summer 2025, cutting into the $189 billion in annual oil export revenue that funds their entire military operation. And here's the most terrifying fact. Western sanctions block access to modernization equipment, meaning most refineries face 3 to 6 month repair timelines. Satellite data shows that only one of the 16 damaged storage tanks was repaired between September 2024 and January 2025. Russia is burning through reserves faster than they can repair the damage. Every gallon they can't produce is a tank that can't drive, a bomber that can't fly, and a soldier who can't get supplies. Russia deployed some of the world's most sophisticated air defense systems to protect these strategic assets. The S-400 Triumph battery cost $1.25 billion each. Individual missiles range from $300,000 to $2 million depending on variant. The system can theoretically engage ballistic missiles in space and stealth fighters at a range of 400 kilometers. Theoretically. In practice, these systems were designed to swat F-35s and Tomahawk cruise missiles from the sky. They were not designed to handle 117 simultaneous quadcopters made from plywood and hope. The fundamental problem is radar cross-section. S-400 radars are optimized for targets presenting 0.4 to 4 square meters of reflective surface. Ukrainian FPV drones constructed from foam, plastic, and plywood present signatures closer to 0.01 square meters, 10 times below the threshold where the system functions reliably. It's like trying to shoot a mosquito with a hunting rifle. Possible in theory, catastrophically inefficient in practice. Then there's the Pantsir S-1, specifically designed for short-range air defense. Each unit costs $15 to $20 million and bristles with missiles and 30mm cannons. Russian officials publicly acknowledged in June 2025 that the 30mm guns cannot effectively detect or engage drones. In other words, Russia spent 2.5 years getting destroyed by drones before admitting their primary short-range air defense system was fundamentally inadequate and needed a complete redesign. Verified losses tell the story. At least 27 Pantsir S-1 units were destroyed in December 2024. Multiple S-400 batteries hit in June, August, and September 2025 in Crimea alone. Each S-400 radar costs approximately $200 million. Each one destroyed represents capabilities that can't be quickly replaced. The cost of mathematics spirals into absurdity. A $3 million Patriot interceptor versus a $35,000 Shahed drone creates an 86-to-1 cost disadvantage for Ukraine. Yet global Patriot production reaches only 650 to 740 missiles annually, shared among all operators worldwide. You can't win an economic war when every defensive shot costs 7,500 times more than what you're shooting at. September 17, 2024. The 107th Arsenal in Toropets, Tver Oblast, sits 480 kilometers north of Ukraine and 230 miles from Moscow. This wasn't some decrepit Soviet-era depot. This was a modern facility completed in 2018 as part of a $980 million program. Deputy Defense Minister Dmitry Bulgakov bragged in 2018 that it was designed to withstand nuclear explosions. Ukrainian drones found out. The strike detonated an estimated 30,000 tons of ammunition. The primary explosion created an 82-meter-wide crater and registered as a magnitude 2.8 earthquake on seismic monitors 300 kilometers away. The blast equivalent was estimated at 200 to 240 tons of TNT, with some analyses suggesting 1.3 to 1.8 kilotons. Maxar satellite imagery captured enormous smoke plumes from multiple buildings, extensive forest damage, and fires that burned for days. Estonian Defense Forces intelligence estimated that the 30,000 tons destroyed equals approximately 750,000 artillery shells, roughly 2 to 3 months of Russia's entire ammunition supply. The depot stored Iskander and Tochka-U tactical missiles, KA-B guided aerial bombs, artillery ammunition, and North Korean munitions that Russia had carefully stockpiled for months. All of it gone in one night. NBC News later reported that the CIA provided intelligence on depot vulnerabilities, defensive systems, calculated required drone numbers, and planned flight paths. A second strike hit another depot south of Toropets on September 22nd, with similarly massive explosions creating earthquake-magnitude blasts. Russia's response? Moving ammunition to more dispersed locations, which increases logistical burden and slows frontline supply. Diverting air defense systems from the front to protect rear area depots, creating gaps in coverage. accepting that nowhere is truly safe when your enemy can fly 1,500 kilometers with impunity. And here's where it gets truly scary. Ukrainian drones aren't just flying pre-programmed routes anymore. They're thinking. In December 2024, Ukrainian forces conducted the world's first fully unmanned military operation near Liptsy, north of Kharkiv. Dozens of unmanned ground vehicles coordinated with FPV drones to destroy Russian positions without any infantry involvement whatsoever. No humans on the battlefield, just machines talking to machines, making decisions, executing kills. The Kratworks Ghost Dragon, released in December 2024, uses neural network visual navigation. It compares real-time camera imagery with satellite maps, recognizing landmarks and crossroads to update its position even under total GPS denial. Russian jamming that would send older drones spinning off course means nothing. The drone sees where it's going, understands what it's looking at, and recalculates its own position like a human reading street signs. Ukrainian company Swarmer has conducted over 100 swarm missions as of 2025. Their typical deployment uses 3 drones, 1 for reconnaissance and 2 for strike. But they've tested 25 drone operations and are planning 100 drone trials. The CEO stated Ukraine is preparing for hundreds or thousands of drones operating in coordinated swarms. Here's the operational process. Reconnaissance drones chart routes and identify targets. Strike drones autonomously, calculate optimal release timing based on target characteristics. Inter-drone communication coordinates attacks without human input, and human operators retain authority only over final engagement decisions. Ukraine ordered 10,000 AI-enhanced drones in 2024. These systems improve target recognition range from 300 meters to 1 to 2 kilometers and increase strike success rates 3 to 4 times through autonomous navigation. The AI doesn't just see better, it decides better. Auterion CEO Lorenz Meyer projects that by the end of 2025, fully autonomous solutions will be operational. Multiple analysts identify 2027 as the critical window where first movers achieving AI and swarm mastery may gain insurmountable advantages. In other words, we're about 2 years away from autonomous drone swarms that can hunt, decide, and kill without any human involvement beyond go get them. Let's take a second and appreciate these advancements. Russia is a nuclear superpower with the world's largest territory, thousands of tanks, millions of troops, and air defense networks that should theoretically protect against anything short of a full-scale NATO invasion. Ukraine is a country 1/20th Russia's size, with a fraction of the resources that 3 years ago had barely any drone industry at all. Yet Ukraine demonstrated 4,300-kilometer strike capability, farther than New York to Los Angeles. They hit 5 airbases simultaneously in an operation that took 18 months to plan and executed flawlessly. They've struck 24 refineries across Russia's vast territory. They destroyed ammunition depots designed to survive nuclear war. They eliminated strategic bombers that haven't been manufactured in 33 years and can never be replaced. The verified damage totals at least $7.7 billion through October 2025. The actual economic impact, fuel shortages, export bans, supply chain disruptions, diverted resources, and operational constraints run many times higher. Russia responded by pulling Pantsir air defense systems back from front lines to protect refineries, creating defensive gaps. They relocated surviving bombers to more remote bases, increasing operational costs. They acknowledged their primary short-range air defense system was inadequate and needed a complete redesign. They accepted that 60 to 80% of Russian casualties come from Ukrainian drones, according to NATO data. The adaptation race favors Ukraine's innovation ecosystem, 500-plus drone manufacturers, 2 million drones produced in 2024, scaling to 4.5 million in 2025, and rapid iteration cycles measured in weeks rather than years. Russia's advantages, industrial scale, and deep resources matter less when the technological paradigm shifts faster than bureaucracies can adapt. This isn't just about Ukraine and Russia anymore. Taiwan studies these operations for potential application against Chinese amphibious forces. NATO reassesses air defense architectures. every military on Earth is watching and learning. The fundamental lesson resonates globally. Small, technologically adaptive forces can impose strategic costs on larger adversaries through sustained precision drone campaigns. 3 years ago, Ukraine had 7 drone manufacturers. Today they have 500, producing weapons that reach deeper into Russia than any missile the West has supplied. They've proven that $400 of foam and ingenuity beats $500 million of steel and tradition. That AI-guided swarms rewrite battlefield mathematics. And geographic depth no longer provides security when cheap drones fly 4,300 kilometers with impunity. The age of expensive, exquisite weapons is ending. The era of mass autonomous swarms is beginning. And Ukraine isn't just fighting Russia, they're writing the doctrine for 21st century warfare. If you enjoy great breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next.